The first tiger appeared at dawn, its cannon sweeping across the fields with slow precision. Inside a nearby Sherman, four crewmen froze as its silhouette broke through the rising mist. Every man knew the truth. A Sherman meeting a tiger frontally was a death sentence. The commander whispered orders, guiding his driver behind a hedgerow. Their tank felt painfully underpowered, lighter and weaker than the monster ahead. American crews had learned to fear the tiger's armor, knowing shells often bounced like stones on steel as the tiger advanced. The Sherman's radio crackled with frantic voices. Units begged for support, yet no one dared expose themselves in open ground. The crew gripped their stations, feeling trapped in seeing a machine that was never meant for duels like this. Days earlier, they had attempted to flank a panther and failed. Their shots missed by inches as the cannon struggled to settle after each recoil. The Sherman's gun could kill, but only if the barrel stayed steady, and the tank's suspension rarely allowed it. Morale sank as crews realized their shots often landed wide. The tiger needed only seconds to line up its reply. Men cursed the wobble that plagued the Sherman's stabilizer, a flaw that stole precious time and cost lives in duels stacked against them. One afternoon, while the crew repaired track links near a French farmhouse, an elderly farmer approached. He carried fence wire, weathered hands twisting it absent-mindedly. Watching them struggle, he asked why their turret shook like a nervous horse. Confused, the commander explained that the recoil rocked the barrel, making follow-up shots painfully slow. The farmer studied the turret, noting the gap where the elevation gear met the bracket. He tapped it gently, murmuring that something simple might help. He returned minutes later with a coil of thick wire. Speaking through a translator, he suggested binding the elevation wheel to limit bounce. The crew laughed at first, dismissing the idea as silly. Yet the farmer insisted that tension controlled movement. Curiosity overcame pride. They wrapped the wire tightly around the wheel, securing it until the metal groaned. The gunner tested the elevation, finding the resistance smoother and firmer. A tiny change, but one that felt strangely promising. That evening, they tested the gun on abandoned wrecks. The barrel settled faster. Recoil sent less tremor through the frame. The gunner fired again and again, each shot returning to center almost instantly. The crew stared at one another, stunned. Word spread quickly. Other Sherman units asked about the strange wire loop on their turret. Mechanics scoffed, yet field crews copied the mod. The change was minor, but results were unmistakable. Shermans were firing faster and hitting with deadly accuracy. By the time they faced the next tiger, the crew carried new confidence. The commander ordered the driver into a flanking position, trusting the tank's quick rotation and their improved stabilizer trick. The farmer's wire held tight under every rumble. The gunner tracked the tiger from cover, adjusting elevation with practiced ease. The barrel steadied almost instantly, settling on a vulnerable seam behind the turret. Distance closed rapidly. Sweat dripped as he waited for the perfect angle. The commander's voice cut through the tension, calm and sharp. The gunner fired. Recoil slammed the hull, yet the barrel returned to target with uncanny speed. Smoke rose from the tiger as the round punched into its armor. They reloaded instantly. The second shot rang out before the tiger could fully turn. Flames erupted from its engine deck, black smoke curling into the sky. The Sherman crew yelled in disbelief as the giant halted, crippled by precision they had never achieved before. Infantry nearby watched in astonishment. They expected a long duel, or worse, another Sherman loss. Instead, the underdog tank struck twice in seconds. Rumors erupted that the American crews had found some new secret fired from inside their machines. The crew never forgot the moment the Tiger's hatch burst open. German soldiers fleeing from the flames. The battlefield fell silent around them. The driver gripped the controls, shaking with adrenaline, realizing they had just toppled a legend. Reports confirmed the impossible. Their Sherman had destroyed a Tiger faster than any unit in their division's history. Officers demanded to know how they had achieved such rapid follow-up shots. The crew mentioned a farmer and a roll of wire. Soon, the trick spread across armored battalions. Wire bindings, clamps, and improvised braces appeared on Shermans throughout the region. A simple fix born from a civilian's intuition had refined the stabilizer's function, boosting accuracy under pressure. Shermans across Normandy began hitting targets quicker, cracking open armored threats before they could respond. Crews who once feared Tigers now fought with sharper confidence, knowing each shot counted more than ever before. The farmer never knew the scale of his impact. To him, it was only a matter of tightening a loose motion. To the Sherman crews, it was a small miracle forged from experience, turning hesitation into speed and transforming fear into capability. The next engagement came at dusk, when smoke hung low over the fields and shadows stretched long across the hedgerows. A Tiger prowled near a crossroads, its turret sweeping methodically. The Sherman crew prepared, confidence tempered by the danger ahead. The commander signaled a wide arc, guiding the driver through narrow lanes bordered by thick brush. The modified stabilizer held steady on each bump. Inside the turret, the gunner breathed evenly, trusting the wire binding that had changed their fate once before. They reached a small rise overlooking the crossroads. Through the sight, the Tiger appeared larger than life, armor catching the glow of sunset. The gunner aligned the reticle with the upper side plate, knowing the margin for error was thin but achievable. The loader handed over a high-velocity round, its metal surface glinting in the dim light. His hands moved with urgent precision. Each second mattered. The Tiger turned slowly, unaware it had entered the sights of a tank transformed by one humble idea. The commander gave the order. The cannon thundered. The barrel snapped back, then steadied as the wire binding pulsed under strain. The gunner stayed locked on target, adjusting for the Tiger's slight shift as a plume of sparks burst from the impact. The Tiger halted, stunned by the hit. Its turret jerked toward their position, gears grinding with urgency. Before the German crew could respond, the Sherman fired again, the second round slamming into the rear plate with force that sent smoke billowing outward. The Tiger burned fiercely, flames rising into a dark column. The Sherman crew watched cautiously, weapons still ready. Only when the giant settled into silence did they exhale. Their tank had delivered 2 accurate shots in rapid succession, sealing the duel. Word of the victory spread quickly across radio channels. Units nearby shifted plans, relieved that the roadblock had been cleared. Infantry advanced behind the Sherman, offering brief cheers as they passed the smoldering remains of the formidable machine. The crew advanced cautiously, moving through a maze of hedgerows. They knew their advantage was fragile. The wire trick improved their aim, but strategy and positioning still defined survival. Each hill and ditch could hide a gun powerful enough to end them. At a small village on the outskirts, they regrouped. Mechanics approached, curious about the strange binding around the stabilizer wheel. When the commander explained its function, they nodded in appreciation, noting how such field wisdom shaped victory. Nearby crews inspected the Sherman, comparing it with their own machines. The subtle tension in the elevation mechanism impressed them. Small changes often meant life or death in armored warfare. They promised to replicate the modification before dawn. Night settled over the village, marked by distant artillery flashes. The crew sat beside their tank, sharing rations and recounting the day's chaos. Beneath the fatigue, a quiet pride formed. Their success proved that ingenuity could challenge even a tiger. The gunner sharpened his senses by recalling every detail of the duel. Determined to improve further, he understood that accuracy was not just mechanical. It demanded discipline, calm, and belief in the machine that served them. The wire only unlocked potential. At sunrise, new orders arrived. The battalion would strike east, pushing through farmland where German forces regrouped. The Sherman rumbled forward, its crew ready. The familiar tension returned, yet was now balanced by earned confidence in their capability. The first resistance appeared near an orchard, where German armor concealed itself among broken stone walls. A heavy shell landed nearby, shaking dirt across the Sherman's hull. The commander urged calm, directing the driver to circle along a shallow ridge. The tiger's muzzle emerged between trees, ready to fire. The gunner reacted instantly, locking onto the threat. The stabilizer absorbed the recoil of their first shot with remarkable steadiness. The round hit the turret ring, forcing the tiger to recoil in shock. The loader was already preparing the next round. Sweat streaked across his helmet as he slammed it into place. Seconds later, the gunner fired. The second shot pierced the hull plate above the engine compartment, sending smoke twisting into the cold morning air. The tiger attempted to back away, tracks grinding against rubble. Flame soon overtook its frame. The Sherman crew watched, stunned by how quickly they had disabled a threat once unmatched on the battlefield. The wire binding had once again proven its worth. As the road cleared, the battalion advanced steadily. Radios buzzed with reports of success across the front. Shermans, with the same modification, boasted increased hit rates, striking before enemy crews could adjust. A small idea had reshaped their tactics. Later, when the division paused to regroup, officers inspected fields littered with disabled armor. They noted that Sherman crews were firing faster and landing decisive blows with unprecedented consistency, forcing German forces into reluctant withdrawal. The commander stood beside his tank, reflecting on the battles they had survived. He realized that courage and training were vital, but innovation often emerged from unexpected minds. A farmer's observation had become a tactical revolution on the battlefield. Years later, historians traced the small adjustment that tripled Sherman effectiveness against tigers. They found no official doctrine, only stories of wire, field improvisation, and the quiet brilliance of those who understood machines through simple intuition. What began as the idea of a single farmer became a whispered legend among tank crews, a reminder that even the most feared enemy could be challenged when clever hands reshaped the tools of war. In steel and fire, humility had forged a hidden edge.